The themes that have brought us together today could not be more relevant. Democracy, governance, and diplomacy are not abstract concepts. They shape the quality of our lives, determine how societies manage differences, and influence of our abilities to build peaceful, prosperous, and inclusive future. This conference takes place during a particularly significant year for South Africa. In 2026, we commemorate two defining milestones in our democratic journey: the 50th anniversary of the Soweto Uprising of 16 June 1976, and the 30th anniversary of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Both milestones remind us that democracy is neither inevitable nor self-sustaining. It is built through sacrifice, protected through active citizenry, and strengthened through each generation's commitment to freedom, justice, and equality. This month, South Africans commemorate the Youth Month and pay tribute to the courageous young people who participated in the Soweto Uprising of 1976. The events of 16 June 1976 remain one of the defining moments in our country's history. Young people took to the streets to peaceful protest against the imposition of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. Their actions were met with violence, but their courage awakened the conscience of the world and reinvigorated the struggle against apartheid. The sacrifice of the youth of 1976 contributed immensely to broader movement for freedom, for justice, and for equality. Also influenced various generations post-1976 and various epochs. They demonstrated that young people are not merely beneficiaries of change, but are often its most powerful drivers, as Ms. Nompendulo Mkanchwa shown during her presentation. This year marks the golden jubilee of that historic moment. The 2026 commemoration is being observed under the theme, Reset at 50, the Future Course, with the slogan, Our National Commitment to the Future for Freedom Lives in Every Generation. Importantly, this commemoration is not only about remembering the past, it is about connecting the aspirations of the 1976 generations to the realities of 2026. The youth of 1976 fought for equal access to education and human dignity. The challenge before us today is to ensure that young people have meaningful access to economic opportunities, quality education, skills development, entrepreneurship, and participation in society. I think the software engineer has further added something, that this should be actioned, because access to all these opportunities is available, but it needs to be actioned by the current generation. The greatest tribute we can pay to the class of 1976 is not simply to honor their memory, it's to ensure that today's generation is empowered to lead, innovate, thrive in a rapidly changing world. This year also marks the 30th anniversary of our Constitution. Adopted on the 10th of December 1996 and entering into force on the 4th of February 1997, the Constitution stands as the cornerstone of our democratic order. It is the product of decades of struggle against oppression and injustice. It reflects the aspirations of peoples determined to build societies founded on human dignity, equality, freedom, and the rule of law. For 30 years, the Constitution has guided South Africa's democratic development. It has provided a framework for democratic governance, constitutional accountability, social transformation, and the protection of human rights. We have much to celebrate. We still have a long journey as a country. Over the past 3 decades, South Africa has established robust democratic institutions, conducted free and fair elections, expanded access to education, healthcare, strengthened the constitutional governance, and advanced the rights of millions who were historically excluded. Yet we must also acknowledge that the work of transformation remains unfinished. Persistent inequality, unemployment, poverty, corruption, and social exclusion continue to challenge our democratic project. The Constitution, therefore, remains not only a record of what we have achieved, but also guide to what we must still accomplish as a nation. This anniversary presents an opportunity to honor the framers of our Constitution, celebrate our democratic gains, and recommit ourselves to constitutional values. Most importantly, it provides an opportunity to engage young South Africans as custodians of our constitutional democracy and co-creators of a just, united, and a prosperous society. I know sometimes we take it for granted. It looks natural, the rights that we enjoy every day. The right to vote, the right to access to internet, and just the right to express our views and opinions. These were fought for. They are products of blood and sweat of a struggle. In other countries, these rights, you have to fight for them through courts and through other means. In this country, even during elections, internet is open. Young people can express themselves at any moment. The discussion on democracy and governance cannot be separated from developments in the international environment. We are living through a period of profound geopolitical change. The world is experiencing increasing strategic competition, technological disruption, economic uncertainty, and growing pressures on multilateral institutions. Competition over strategic resources, critical minerals, artificial intelligence, technological innovation, and global supply chains is reshaping the international relations. In this environment, diplomacy has become more important than ever. South Africa's foreign policy continues to be guided by the pursuit of peace, development, multilateralism, solidarity, and a rules-based international order based on international law. As the previous chair of the G20, South Africa consistently advocated for more representative, equitable, and inclusive global governance institutions. The conversations about democracy and governance cannot stop at national borders. It must also extend to the democratization of global governance structures and the meaningful inclusion of developing countries in decisions that affect the future of humanity. The increasingly complex nature of international relations also requires broader societal participation in foreign policy discussions. It was precisely this recognition that informed the revival of the South African Council on International Relations, or SAQIA, by DIRCO. The revival of SAQIA reflects the understanding that diplomacy and foreign policy benefit from diverse perspectives and informed public engagements. SAQIA will provide a platform for dialogue and a debate involving government, academia, business, civil society, and foreign policy practitioners. It will be an interface. It will also support policy development, encourage strategic thinking, and provide informed perspective on international developments and their implications for South Africa. At a time when geopolitics and economic diplomacy are increasingly shaping the global landscape, initiatives such as SAQIA will help ensure that South Africa remains informed, agile, and strategically positioned. On another note, one of the most important discussions taking place globally today concerns the role of young people in peace building, governance, and diplomacy. The adoption of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2250 on youth, peace, and security was a watershed moment in international policy. It recognized that young people are not merely victims of conflict or passive observers of political processes. They are partners in peace building, governance, and sustainable development. This vision is echoed in the African Union Agenda 2063 and the African Youth Charter. Africa is the youngest continent in the world. By 2050, nearly 1 in 4 people globally will be African. This demographic reality presents a tremendous opportunity for the youth of the continent. If properly empowered, Africa's youth can drive economic growth, innovation, democratic participation, and peace building across the continent. If excluded, however, the consequences will be felt across every sector of our society. South Africa has made important progress through the National Youth Policy and the range of youth development initiatives. However, there is a growing recognition that we must continue to strengthen the institutionalization of youth participation across governance, peace building, and developmental processes. Just as South Africa has developed a national action plan on women, peace, and security, there are important lessons to be learned from countries such as Finland and several other states that have developed dedicated youth, peace, and security national action plans. Such initiatives help us ensure that youth participation is not just ad hoc, but a systematic, meaningful, and sustained. DIRCO remains committed to investing in the next generation of leaders, diplomats, and peace builders. The cadet program of the Diplomatic Academy continues to prepare young South Africans for careers in diplomacy and international relations. I am particularly pleased that many of our cadets are with us today. They represent the future of South Africa's diplomacy and future custodians of our foreign policy. Similarly, this week we welcome participants from across the SADC region, attending the capacity building program on conflict resolution, negotiations, and mediation, hosted in partnership with the Kingdom of Norway. This program reflects our shared commitment to strengthen mediation, capacity, conflict prevention, and peaceful resolution of disputes across our region. Our partnership with Norway has contributed significantly to advancing the women, peace, security, and youth agendas, while also supporting practical capacity building initiatives that equip future leaders with critical mediation and negotiation skills. We are equally proud of our partnership with Finland. The South Africa-Finland Youth Peace Mediators Monitoring Program has become one of the flagship international youth peace building initiatives supported by our two countries. The program brings together exceptional young leaders from countries either experiencing or emerging from conflict, or with a strong history of contributing to international peace efforts, and provides them with sustained mentorship, learning opportunities, and exposure to international peace processes. It also symbolically rooted in the historic collaboration between President Cyril Ramaphosa and the former Finnish President Marit Ahtisaari, who together helped facilitate peace in Northern Ireland in 2000. The program has already concluded 3 in-person phases in South Africa at the African Union and the United Nations. Its concluding in-person engagement in Helsinki later this year in September will mark not an end, but the beginning of a long-term community of practitioners that will continue to contribute to peace-building efforts across regions and the continents. I am particularly pleased that when President Ramaphosa and President Stubb engage later this year, they will have the opportunity to meet participants whose journey embodies the values that underpin this partnership: dialogue, cooperation, inclusion, and peace. We also value our growing partnership with Switzerland. Through our cooperation on democratic resilience, mediation, and governance, Switzerland has become an important partner in supporting dialogue, democratic participation, and the institutional strengthening. Together, these partnerships demonstrate the power of diplomacy to build bridges, create opportunities, and invest in people. Before I conclude, let me observe on a lighter note. Like many people around the world, I have been following the FIFA World Cup with great interest. Football reminds us that success is never achieved by individuals acting alone. It requires teamwork, discipline, strategy, resilience, and shared sense of purpose. The same applies to democracy. The same applies to governance, and the same applies to diplomacy. No society succeeds when citizens are spectators. No democracy thrives when participation is absent. And no country can navigate today's challenges in isolation. As we reflect on the legacy of 1976, celebrated years of constitutional democracy, and look towards the Agenda 2063 and the future of our continent, let us remain guided by the belief that young people are not merely the leaders of tomorrow. They are leaders of today. The future is indeed calling. Again, on the same note, with the performance of majority of African teams at the World Cup, it looks promising that this year we may break the barriers of the semi-final. An African team may reach the final of the World Cup. I wish you all the best in these deliberations, and for the young people in your journey, in whatever careers that you will end up in. I do hope that some of you will be astute diplomats in the future. Thank you very much.